disaster, and there are several new developments to tell you about.
Many of them came within the last 30 minutes. The most important news, BP may be getting closer to capping that well.
11 News reporter Jeremy Diesel is in our newsroom where he's been following the story all day. What's the latest, Jeremy?
Well, about 3:45 this afternoon, there were signs that BP had begun the well integrity test that could eventually shut in this well. Officially, that announcement came just after 4. National Incident Commander Thad Allen won't quite commit, but he does say the test could completely stop the flow of oil in the Gulf. BP knows a little about pressure. Now, though, pressure is the only thing that matters, and pressure is good.
And at this time, we'll be releasing an order to BP to proceed with the well integrity test. We're going to be watching very closely the pressure readings.
It's called an integrity test for a reason, to make sure that the well casing can hold back the force of the oil straining to get out. That pressure could be as high as 8,000 pounds per square inch. Part of the pre-testing is a seismic survey of the seafloor. That's where the unseen problems were hiding.
There were a couple of other concerns around waste flow could escape, and we needed to go examine those before we proceeded.
The government actually ordered BP to stop the testing and look closer.
I think their main concern is to make sure there's no subsurface leaks right now, because they can kind of keep their eye on the ones that are above the surface.
When the wellhead is closed, oil flow will stop and pressure will build. If the pressure is low, that's a problem, potentially without immediate answers. BP is concerned about a casing failure, a leak under the sea in the well drill pipe. Another possible problem is pressure, creating a new leak, actually in the seafloor itself.
Could be deep in the subsurface.
Something that would make the runaway well even harder to stop.
We never want to take any action which could make things worse, so that's why it's so important to get this test right.
Now, I want to take you through some of these undersea cameras that are working right now. This is the pressure gauge that we've been watching now for 2 days. All of a sudden, in the last half hour, it's gone from 0 up to 2,000 pounds per square inch. That suggests that the robots undersea are actually starting to do their work, and you can see it starting to turn off the kill line. That's the first line that they're going to be turning off under the sea, and what everybody is going to be watching is this shot. The top of the cap. This is actually the choke line. That's the final line that they will be turning off. And if oil stops flowing out of that cap sometime in the next 6 hours, oil will actually be stopped underneath the Gulf. And then they'll be monitoring that pressure on 6-hour intervals to find out if that will hold or whether or not they'll just go back to containment actions. Either way, they say they're in pretty good shape. Reporting live from the newsroom, I'm Jeremy Diesel, 11 News.
Well, oil isn't the only thing washing up on Alabama's Dauphin Island. 2 brothers volunteering in the cleanup came across a piece of the Deepwater Horizon. At first, they thought it was coral, but Transocean and the Coast Guard confirmed it's foam from a collapsed pipe.
So far, BP has paid out $177 million in claims, but tens of thousands of people are still waiting for their money. Next on the CBS Evening News, you'll see who's being affected and discover why the claims are falling through the cracks. Couric will be reporting from New Orleans.
And news of the Gulf oil disaster continues to come in, this time on where the oil is now headed. Meteorologist Gene Norman has been watching the oil move away from the Texas coast.
Going away, but he also says there's still reason for concern. What's that, Gene?
Well, it certainly is. There are a couple of what we call eddy currents. These are little swirls in the Gulf currents that may be pushing that oil perhaps closer and closer to the loop current down toward Florida. This is the forecast we've been showing you for the past couple of days here now. The white line indicating where the oil may wash up, not near Texas, but back toward Louisiana, and that forecast continues to keep it in that area through Friday. Also, the forecast seems to indicate that there's optimism that the well cap that they put on may actually be doing its job because we see less of that oil spreading out. So maybe that containment will in fact work, but we have to watch those eddy currents as well. For us, it's been the heat. In fact, our hottest day of the month today, we topped out at 96 degrees. Heat index values well over 100, and believe it or not, it's going to get hotter before we see any kind of relief anytime soon. I've got more details on that forecast. I'll have that coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, talk to you then, Gene.
We are keeping our eye on the gusher, and you can too. You'll find a link to BP's live stream at khou.com.
We have just learned former Vice President Dick Cheney is recovering from heart surgery. He